Right. Good morning. We're in chapter 20 of Sefer Shoftim. The middle of the story is a horrible story of Pilegesh Bagiv'ah, the concubine in the hill, or in Giv'ah, which is the name of a place, and it's also translation of the word hill. Anyway, we told the story, the beginning of the story last chapter Yutet, 19. Right, so we have this guy from the tribe of Levi that lived in Har Ephraim. His concubine ran away to her house in the south in Bethlehem, Yehuda, and then he went after her. He stayed there a while. She returned to him. They go back home. In the home, they have to sleep in the city of Giv'ah, which belongs to the tribe of Binyamin. People of the city demand to rape them or him. They are taking out the woman. He is pushing her out to them. They torture her during the whole night. And then in the morning, she arrived to the house, apparently still alive. But in the end, she died. And then he cut her body and sent it to each one of the tribes and said, you should do something about that. So this was the last chapter. I just want maybe to emphasize another point that we didn't emphasize enough. It started with them in the streets of the city looking for someone to host them, and nobody is hosting them. This is opposite, or contrarily to what was in the house of the father of the woman. So you remember that in the house of the father of the woman, he just insisted in hosting him, and hosting he didn't let him. It's a little bit strange story how he tried to convince him to stay more and more and more. So this is like one against the other. One side is achnasat orchim, and the other side is they don't want to host. And after that, it brings them to the only some person, old person from Har Ephraim, is the one who is ready to host them. We also mentioned that about the Pesel Micha, the former stories that we saw about the idol of Micha, also Chachamim said that he could survive so long time because he was someone who got for his hospitality. He was always receiving, hosting guests. So we see that the idea of hosting of guests is something that is fundamental in these chapters, which represent at least what we can say brotherhood. So even if the relationship with God are not so good, at least between us, it's something that can work. So when you lost that, it's even worse than just losing the connection with God. So there was a basic human brotherhood, being brothers, being close to each other, helping each other. I just want to say that hosting guests, it's not like invited someone to Friday dinner, right? It's not like usually what it used to be. Today we are not used to that because we go to hotels or to Airbnb or whatever, right? So you're not used to that. But people used to trust someone will host them. They will just go from place to place. It's not like today that most of the places you just go with your car. Once, I know, even to go places like Red Deer or something like that was a journey of a day. And going almost everywhere required staying in the way. And there's no phone, there's no internet. You cannot invite room in a hotel in the other room. So you just go and trust. Without that, there's no connections between cities, between families. So you trust the fact that you will find a place to stay. And the hosting is like the basic grace, chesed, kindness that you can do to other people, even though they are usually not in a need, right? So you have poor people that needs help. Okay, we understand that. It's going to be the system that's helping them. Here it's like more spontaneous. You see someone in the street, someone coming to the shul Friday evening, where are you eating? It's a basic human thing. Today we don't have that so much, but it's a basic human help. So someone really needs you. And now the hosting it's a huge range, right? We read about Avraham Avinu that was offering them meat and bread and everything, and we can see other level of hosting. So again, we see the host of the father of the woman who was hosting like a king, give you everything, just stay with me, I will give you food and drink and everything. And then when they arrived to the city of Giv'ah, they told the old man, you don't have to give us food, just a place to sleep. So it's ranging from just a place to sleep when you are basically, you don't lose anything. It doesn't cost you anything. To put someone to sleep in your house, it doesn't cost you, usually. I mean, maybe, I don't know, replacing the sheets or something like that, right? It's not something that, so it is the range of hospitality can be very, very wide, from doing everything for them to just give them a place to put the head in the night. But if you when you lose the basic הכנסת אורחים, hospitality, meaning you lose the basic humanity character or ethics. And this is maybe maybe this is the purpose. We said I don't know why the story of the father is so long, telling him the first day, the second day he stays too many days, and then it may be to explain us why he left so late in the afternoon, in the days that he decided to go, in the fifth day that he decided to go, but also maybe to see this contradiction, this opposites attitude from each other. While he was in the highest level of hospitality, they were less than the lowest level. Even not the people of Gina didn't even offer him a place to put the head. Only a person that was from outside who was the one who was offering.
You mentioned that they spent a lot of time talking about the father-in-law holding him, having him as a guest. I have a funny thing that he was hoping that his daughter would change her mind because he may have had some worries about this man. And he wanted to keep him there, maybe the daughter.
That's what you think, that's the reason he asked him to stay more and more.
Stay.
Yeah, he didn't want his daughter to let go. Maybe it doesn't look like that in the verses. I'm not saying it's impossible. In the verses, it looks like he was really happy to see him. He was really happy that he's returning with his daughter. That's what it looks like. That the person really was happy to have him and he wanted him to return with his daughter. So it looks like he just was a kind person that liked people. He liked this man specifically. Apparently, this Ish Levi was an important person. So this is just a point that is important to mention, the subtext of the importance of Achnasat Orchim in this situation. Now we continue in chapter 11. Oh, without the English here. And it says, Vayetzu kol bnei Israel. This is amazing. Thereupon all the Israelites from Dan to Beersheba and from the land of Gilad march forth. The only time in all Sefer Shoftim that it says all Israel or kol bnei Israel is in this story. So when it was necessary to fight against the Midian, only few tribes went. When it was necessary to fight against Moab, only few tribes went. And the same as Canaan and Plishtim and all the nations around them. When it was necessary to go to a war against other nations, only few tribes arrived. But when it was necessary to fight against other tribe of Am Israel, when it's a civil war, Kol Bnei Israel, everybody is joining. So it's I don't know if cynical way to present the Tanakh is not saying, it's a tone sometimes, and it's saying things without saying it. It's a shame that the only thing that could unite all Am Israel was an internal war. ויצאו כל בני ישראל, all the Israelites, ותקהל העדה כאיש אחד. So the community assembled as one person, everybody as one person before God at Mitzvah. You can see that also in a positive way. You can say it was such an horrible act, such an horrible case that nobody was indifferent. Everybody was moved by what's happened. Everybody will join in the efforts. You can say that also, see that in a positive way. But I think also it's the fact that the only reason that all Bnei Israel came together was fight against other tribe. It's also a little bit, it's showing something about the time, the period of the Shoftim that we are talking about. And then also the second verse, I think it's the same message. It says, all the leaders of the people and all the tribes of Israel presented themselves in the assembly of God's people. 400,000 fighters on foot. So there are 400,000 fighters inside Am Israel. We say that the story maybe in the beginning of the time of the Shoftim or in the end, but what we can see that the potential army of Am Israel was huge. 400,000 people. It's without the tribe of Levi. We see the tribe of Levi another around 30,000.
Even today, it's considered.
Even today, it's considered a huge army. I don't think Israel could kind of say conscript hundreds of thousands of soldiers in the beginning of the war against Gaza in few days. And it was amazing. Nobody can do that so fast. But it's because we have the reserves that are so, it's such a reserved army, well maintained. But 400,000 or 400, around, let's say around 450,000 soldiers were available to the Jewish people. It's the strongest nation in the zone without a doubt. When we read about the numbers in the other wars that we read about during the book, nothing is even close to that. Not even close to 450, 500,000 soldiers, not people, soldiers. It's a huge army. It's the biggest empire in the zone, without a doubt. But everybody for himself. When everybody for himself, I think again, the book put here the numbers and the story to show you the potential that was lost during the all 400 years of the time of the Shoftim. The 400 years that each tribe was for himself. And Melech Israel, there's no king in Am Israel. The potential was to be the big empire of the times, that this potential was lost, it was spent without using it because of this separation inside Am Israel. So Am Israel is gathering clearly for a war. What about find out what really happened? It was enough to him, to the person, to send the body and everybody is joining. What about investigate? Maybe it was. It doesn't say it wasn't, but it also doesn't say it was. Only for sending, everybody's gathering. And then the sons of Binyamin heard that the sons of Israel had come to the Mitzpeh. So Mitzpah, it's near Geva. It's in the zone also in Jerusalem. It's around this place. Yeah, I'm quite sure it's there. The Israelite says, tell us, how did these evil things happen? So the Israel say to whom? Not to Shevet Binyamin yet. The conversation with Shevet Binyamin is going to be later. For now, what we know that Am Israel is gathering in Mitzpah. Shevet Binyamin is hearing about it and collecting his people also. And then we are hearing a conversation inside the camp of Am Israel, not Shevet Binyamin. And then they ask, how did it happen? What's this evil thing, this woman, this poor woman? They only saw the parts of the body. Tell us what's happened that we arrived to that. And then the Ish Levi tells his story from his point of view. And that Levite, the husband of the murdered woman, replied, my concubine and I came to Gibeah of Binyamin to spend the night. The citizens of Gibeah set out to harm me. They gathered against me around the house in the night. They meant to kill me, and they abused my concubine until she died. So it's not very accurate what is telling here. He forgot to mention that he was the one who's pushing her out. And he forgot to mention that she returned to him alive. Just wasn't, it wasn't important enough to him to take care of her. He was just sleeping at home, doesn't care about what's going to happen. So all the part of his fault was disappearing here. And again, Am Israel is not doing the minimum, at least according to what it says, of investigating a little bit more profound. I'm saying that because we're going to ask a question. We're going to see, we mentioned that in the first 2 days of the war, Binyamin were the one who were winning. And tens of thousands of people of Am Israel were killed in the first 2 days of the war. So it looks like Am Israel also has fault hit. And there is questions, we're going to see some question about why did he fail? And we're going to see that they asked God, and God told them looks like goat. Yeah, so we can see that Am Israel also wasn't totally okay in all this story. Yeah, so we talk about why did they lose the first 2 days. But for now, we can see that they just accepting everything that is said without investigating, without questioning anything. Okay, and then it continues. So I took hold of my concubine and I cut her in pieces and sent them through every part of Israel's territory. It's also a question, does it justify violating her body after her died? After that, usually we know that respecting the body in Judaism is something that is very important. And we have people from the Chevra Kadisha that dedicate their time and efforts to make sure that we're respecting the body. And this thing, maybe it was necessary to awake everybody, to provoke everybody to act, yeah, but it still looked like something that other people wouldn't have done. For an outrageous act of depravity had been committed in Israel. Now you are all Israelites. Produce a plan of action here and now. So then all the people rose as one and declared, we will not go back our homes, we will not enter our houses, but this is what we will do together. We will wage war against it according to a lot. So they are already decided that the solution would be a war. We will see that it's not like that. They asked the tribe of Benjamin to take care of that, and they didn't. But let's say, here again, we have details that I don't really understand why it's mentioned here. Some explanation. Let's say the detail was like that. We will take from all the tribe of Israel 10 of every 100, 100 of every 1,000, and 1,000 of every 10,000. I cannot do the calculation alone. I don't know why it's like so detailed about that, to supply provisions for the troops. So 10%, 90% are going to be soldiers, and 10% are going to be the one who supply, what we call today in Israel, jobnikim. The proportion in Israel, in the army Israel, is the opposite. Like maybe 10% are fighters and 90% are all the rest. Yeah. But this is a proportion here. 10% are the one who supply. Why it was important to mention that, it's not clear to me. I don't understand why all this logistic is described here. And then they say, to prepare for the going to Geva in Binyamin for all the outrage it has committed to Israel. And again, it repeats the fact that the union of Am Israel against one of the tribes. So Israel's entire force, united as one, massed against the town. Okay, so he could, with his stories, this person with his story could unite all of Israel for the holy purpose of having war against other part of the tribe. So now I'm not saying that the people of Gibeah were righteous, right? Of course, what they did was horrible. They deserve death. They deserve all punishment you can. I mean, doing a massive rape of a woman, demanding to rape also the man or killing him. I mean, this is horrible. There's no other punishment than I think that it's justified death. I mean, how do you call that? Mass rape, when many people rape in the gang rape. It's a horrible. I cannot even imagine. It's so horrible. I mean, they deserve every punishment. But war against the whole tribe, we're going to see. So Am Israel did try to resolve it in other way. And the tribe of Israel sent agent through the whole tribe of Benjamin, saying, what is this evil thing that has happened among you? Come hand over those scoundrels in Gibeah, so that we may put them to death and stamp out the evil from Israel. But the Benjamin would not yield to the demand of the fellow Israelites. So why did the Benjamin didn't agree? Because they protected each other? Maybe there was so union inside the tribe. There wasn't union between the tribes, but maybe inside the tribe, it's like a family. It was very, very close. They say, no, we don't. They did something bad. They say, we don't care. We don't give you anyone. There is another explanation. The tribes had some kind of autonomy of judging. So we say, שופטים ושוטרים תיתן לך בשעריך, שער אנוכי נותן לך לשבטיך. So you should name judge according to the tribe. So each tribe has autonomy as a judicial system, independent judicial system. And the tribe of Benjamin said, it's not up to you, it's up to us. We should do the judgment. So Am Yisrael said, no, you lost your right. After such an horrible case, we cannot say that your judicial system work, because how come that you have such criminals inside yourself? So the question here may be about, was it not about if what the people of Gibeah did was good or bad, but who is the authority to judge them? And the war was about, from the side of Benjamin, was about their autonomy. Autonomy. Be it one way or another, it doesn't look like something that justify war. It should be resolved in other ways. And maybe it's a point that we should remember. Okay, so they asked them to do that. They said, we don't agree. And then, so the Benjamin gathered from the towns to Gibeah in order to take the field against the Israelis. So the place of the battle is going to be the Gibeah itself. Okay? So we have all the tribe of Benjamin from all the cities, not from only from Gibeah, from all the cities in the Gibeah, and Am Israel is in front of Gibeah, in Mitzpah. On that day of the Benjamin mustered from the towns 26,000 fighters, mustered apart from the inhabitants of Gibeah 700 elite troops. So we will see that the tribe of Benjamin was very, very talented in war. They were the best, maybe the best warriors of Am Israel. You can see that throughout the Bible. In other places also, that the tribe of Benjamin was very, very allied or quality troops, army. What?
An elite force.
What?
An elite force like the SAS.
Yeah,
or
elite
the,
force. Yeah.
Or the, what do they call them in the US? The
Special forces, yeah.
Forces
Ah.
but in the US, they have a special name, but it's like
I know.
a scene name. I forgot what it is.
SEALs. SEALs?
Seals.
Yeah, so we have in Israel, you have Seret Matkal and Yamam. In United Kingdom, you have the MI. SAS, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So those of Am Israel was from the tribe of Benjamin. So of these 700 of the best troops were left-handed. It's much significant something. Benjamin, the son of Benjamin, is left-handed. I don't sure what, but it has to do something. It has to mean something. So we're left-handed. Every one of them could sling a stone at a hare and not miss. Meaning they were using what?
A slingshot.
A snake shot, yeah, something like that or like that, and they could how do you say hit the target of in the size of a hair. It was very, very accurate. So we have 26,000 plus 700, almost 27,000, and 700 of them were the best troops in Israel. But it's again 400,000, or let's say 360,000, because 30,000 was the supply. So 360,000 against 26. So that's what it says here. Those on Israel's side, other than Benjamin, mustered 400,000 fighters, every one of them a warrior. So everybody is ready for the war. The negotiation ended, the diplomacy failed, and now they're going to go to the war. What Am Yisrael is doing before the war, they are asking God. They proceeded to Bethel and inquired of God. The Israelim asked, who of us shall advance first to fight to Benjamin? And God replied, Yehuda first. Who's going to go first? Meaning we don't need all the 400,000, it's only 26,000. Who should go first? Yehuda will go first. So how many soldiers Yehuda sent? Maybe 40,000, 50,000, doesn't say very clear. But now it's more equal, right? It's not that a big advantage, but not to go everybody together. Anyway, it says, so the Israelites arose in the morning and encamped against Gibeah. Israel's side took the field against the Benjamin. Those on Israel's side drew up in battle order against them at Gibeah. So, but the Benjamin issued from Gibeah, and that day they struck down 22,000 of the Israelis. It's a huge number.
One day.
But here's a question. Didn't Hashem tell them to go? They asked Hashem. They asked apparently Urim Vetumim. Urim Vetumim was the thing that was on the chest of Aaron HaKohen. And it was like asking God. So they asked God. God told them to go. Why did they lose? Did they? They were
He
cheated.
didn't say that they're going to win.
Oh, he said, it's who should go first.
Yeah, it doesn't say they're going to win.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, we'll see about that. But that's well. Of course, was the first answer. He didn't tell them that they're going to win. But it's the meaning of that. Go and you will win. If you thought that they wouldn't go, they shouldn't go. They said, don't go.
Unless God wasn't pleased.
He wanted them to feel. So he was cheating them. So according to that, you cannot trust the word of God. It's the applications are. The question wasn't good also. This is another point. No, it's another point. They didn't ask, should we go to a war or not? They said, who go first? Who tell you to go to war? We'll talk about that. We'll see. I mean, just we don't have. We won't finish all the chapter today, but we talk about all the options to understand that. Anyway, failure in the first day, but they didn't give up. Now the army, Israel's side, rallied and again drew up in battle order at the same place as they had on the first day. For the Israelites had gone up and wept before God until evening. So they were crying in front of God. They had inquired of God, shall we again join battle with our kinsmen, the Benjamin? This is the second question was much better. Should we or shouldn't we go against our kinsmen? What is kinsmen? We saw this one, like brothers? Relatives. Okay, relatives. In Hebrew it says, Achenu, in Binyamin Achi, my brother Binyamin. Should I go to the war? And Hashem again replied, and God replied, march against them. So in Hebrew, it doesn't say march against them. It say, go up to them. Alu elav, go up to them. Oh, and what? And you will lose. That won't happen. And the Israelites advanced against the Benjamin on the second day. But the Benjamin came out from Gibeah against them on the second day and struck down 18,000 more of the Israelites, all of them fighters. So together we have already 40,000 people that die in this war. It's not a small number. Not many wars in Israel history, we lost 40,000 soldiers. I mean,
It was a very bad generalship there, because if you've got an overwhelming amount of soldiers that you can outnumber your enemy, you rush them, take all of them and go in, because they can't fight against that many.
Yeah.
They could have taken them out the first time.
Very, very bad managing of the war. Again, questioning God in the wrong way, or understanding the answers in the wrong way. And maybe beyond that, or in the background of that, they are also guilty. Right? It's Ramban say, for example, we'll see about Ramban later, maybe next class or 2 classes from now, that he says that all the war was a sin. They shouldn't have gone to a war. In the end, Benjamin is going to lose, because Benjamin is also guilty for not taking care by themselves for the city of Gibeah, for not punishing for this horrible crime. So everybody is guilty here. But it's not like Am Yisrael is right and Benjamin is wrong. Am Yisrael is also wrong. It shouldn't arrive to that. So we're going to see now the third day. We're going to return to all that, but let's see. So then all the Bnei Israel, all the army went up and came to Bethel, and they sat there, weeping before God. They fasted the day until evening, and presented burnt offering and offering of well-being to God. Then the Israelites inquired of God, for the ark of God's covenant was there in those days. Why only now mention that? He says they went to Bethel and they wept in front of God. And then he says that the ark of covenant was there. And also it says, and Pinchas, son of Elazar, son of Aaron, the priest, ministered before God in those days. And then they ask, so why not mentioning the first, they already asked God twice. Only here, Pinchas is mentioned and the ark is mentioned. Why it's not mentioned before? Now, by the way, I would say that this is one of the reasons that they say that this story was in the beginning of the time, because we are talking about the grandson of Aaron. So when Aaron, when they entered the land of Israel, he was already an old person. I mean, not old, but not young. I mean, not a child. He was the one who was killing the Midianite and all that. So, and here, if it's in the end of the time of the Shoftim, we are talking about 400 years later. So, or to say that it was in the beginning, or that he says that he had a very long life, which is also an option. So there are some that say that Pinchas had a very, very long life. And this is the meaning of V'anichi eten lecha et briti shalom. I will give you my pact of peace, of peace, that Hashem told him is that he's going to have a very, very long life. Anyway, it's a question why it's mentioned also only the third time. And then they ask again, shall we again take the field against our kinsmen, the Binyamin, or shall we not? God answered, go up, for tomorrow I will deliver them into your hands. So this answer is quite clear. Tomorrow you're going to win. But here we see also change of attitude from the part of Am Israel. Israel set up ambushes against Giv'ah on all sides. So now they are, like you're saying, the management of the war, maybe it's another explanation for the lost. They trust too much the Urim V'Tumim, the answer of God. They didn't bother in preparing the war properly. You're going to a war, it's not a game. Even if you have the word of God, you have to prepare yourself. You have to make ambush. You have to have plan to divide the people. To go everybody, like you say, not sending Judah first or whatever.
Well, he said send them in first, but that doesn't mean the other tribes cannot surround on the sides.
On the sides of the hills or something.
Attack forward and then attack from both sides.
So trusting we're going to win anyway because we are too much, because we are righteous, because Hashem told us, it's a mistake. You should prepare to a war properly. And that's what's happened. And there is a very detailed description of the battle. Let's see. So, and on the third day, the Israelites went up against the Binyamin as before and engaged them in battle in Giv'ah. The Binyamin dashed out to meet the army and were drawn away from the town onto the roads. This is a mistake that we saw in the beginning of Sefer Yoshua of the people of Ai. So you have the city. The city is protected by walls usually, and you can go very close to the wall when you can have the backup of arcs, of how do you say, arrows. From the walls, they are helping you from the walls, and we saw that they had people that could be very accurate with the stones. And then you go close to the city, to the place that you know well, and you have the supply and you have the support, and you can have in the legs of the wall, you can have the wall. But they, how it's read here, drawn away from the city. They were taken away from the city in the heat of the battle, of which one runs to Bethel and the other to Giv'ah. Forgive me. Run away from the town onto the roads, of which one runs to Bethel and the other to Giv'ah. As before, they started out by striking some of the troops dead in the open field, about 30 of the Israelim. So there were 30 people that died also the first day. Or the third day, right? So the Benjamin thought, they are being routed before us as previously. They are going to lose now again. But the Israelites planned, we will take the fight and draw them away from the town of the road. So they sacrificed 30 people in order to take them out of the city. So they have confidence, we are winning again, and they felt free to chase them far away. And then the order of the verses is not very clear. The next verse is what happened before, right? And while everyone else on Israel's side had moved away from their position and had drawn up in battle order at Baal Tamar, the Israelite ambush was running out from its position at Ma'are Gova. So the translation here, it's not very well. It says, first of all, Am Israel came from the ambush, that it's written. But it's mentioned two places. There is a place called Baal Tamar, and there is places called Ma'are Geva. So apparently Baal Tamar, this is what I'm telling now is according to Sefer Dat Mikra, which explained a little bit of the battle. So he says, actually, Am Yisrael was divided to three groups. There was one group that was going directly on the city, maybe the weakest one, that it was in purpose to take them out of the city. So this was one group. The other group, Ma'are Geva. Ma'are is some maybe cave or some kind of hidden place from the other side of Geva. Okay, so we are talking about the south. So we have Geva and Mitzpah or Bet El in the south of Geva, in the north of Geva, and we have they went to the other side, which is called Ma'are Geva, in the south. So when the people of Geva came out to chase Am Israel from in the north, the people from the south came and entered the city and burned it, like we're going to see. While in the meantime, there is another group. The main camp was in a place called Baal Tamar, and they were preparing to the war against other camps of Binyamin. Not all the people of Binyamin was in Geva. So there was the plan here was much more detailed and much more well prepared to the third time they're going to a war. So those 10,000 of the best troops from all Israel came to a point of south of Gibeah, and the battle was furious before they realized the disaster was approaching. Meaning the people of Binyamin didn't realize they were thinking they were winning, chasing Am Israel, and they didn't realize that 10,000 people are entering the city from the other side. And God routed the Binyamin. This verse is like resume of a summary of all the war, and then after it's again going to be more detailed. So God routed the Bnei Binyamin before Israel. That day the Israelim slew 25,100 of the Binyamin, all of them fighters. So this is like the summary of everything. Now we are going to see the details. Then the Binyamin realized that they were routed. Now the rest of Israeli side had yielded ground to the Binyamin, for they relied on the ambush that they had laid against Gibeah. The ambush quickly deployed against Gibeah, and the other ambush advanced to put the whole town to the sword. It doesn't say other ambush. It's based on one explanation that there were two kinds of ambush. I don't know exactly how to explain all the details, but what it looks like, again, the people of Binyamin, most of the fighter went out of the city. The people from Israel, from the other side, the ambush went into the city and destroyed the city. And they put the whole town to the sword. A time had been agreed upon by the rest of Israel's side with those in ambush, when a huge column of smoke was sent up from the town. So they said, when you get it on the south, inside the south, you burn the fire. You're making a fire. There is a smoke, and then we know that we can return. All the defeat in the beginning was a game, was a pretending. They were pretending they were losing, and then in the time they saw the smoke, they returned. That's what it says. The rest of Israel's side was to turn about in battle. Binyamin had begun by striking dead about 30 men, like we said in the beginning, on Israel's side, and they thought they are being routed before that in the previous fighting. But then the column, the pillar of smoke, began to rise from the city. The Binyamin looked behind them, and there was the whole town going up in smoke to the sky. And now Israel's side turned about, and Binyamin's side was thrown into panic, for they realized that the disaster had overtaken them. They retreated before Israeli force along the road to the wilderness. So from behind them there is the city. From in front of them there is the troops that were now turning about. So they tried to go away through the sides. But then what we say is the main camp was in other place, in Baal Tamar, and they totally finished. They retreated before Israeli force along the road to the wilderness, where the fighting caught up with them. Meanwhile, those from the towns were massacring them in it. So they encircled the Binyamin, pursued them, and trod them down from Menucha to a point opposite to Gibeah on the east. That day, 18,000 of the Binyamin fell, all of them brave men. So apart from the 25 that were in the main battle, another 18,000 died. They turned and fled to the wilderness, to the rock of Rimon, but the Israelites picked up another 5,000 on the roads Continuing in the hot pursuit of them up to Gidon, they slew 2,000 more. So we have 25, 18, another 2,000. Or not, I'm not sure. It says now, those the Benjamin fighters who fell that day numbered 25,000, all of them brave men. So it's not clear if the 25 is also different, the 18,000 here and the 2,000 there and the 5,000 there, right? It says 18 in the city and then 5,000 in the roads and another 2,000 in Gidom, right? So maybe this is a ratio is 25,000, all of that. So how many left? But 600 others turned and fled to the wilderness, to the rock of Rimmon. They remained at the rock of Rimmon 4 months. So those on Israel's side, meanwhile, turned back to the rest of the Benjamin and put them to the sword, towns, people, cattle, everything that remained. Finally, they set fire all the towns that were left. Okay, so we'll stop here. We will see more about this chapter later. There are some questions that we should answer. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.